Hello my lovelies and welcome back to my channel and to a new video. I hope you're all having a wonderful day so far. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video and giving it a watch. As you can see by the title, today I'm going to be talking all about vintage fashion and styling. I absolutely love all things to do with 1950s fashion, music, classic cars, all that kind of good stuff. Today I'd like to share with you a few tips and tricks that I like to use in my everyday life for styling my modern day wardrobe in that 1950s style. If you have seen any of my previous fashion videos, and if you do follow me over on Instagram at KatieLivingOnRose, if you don't, you will know that I have a very girly feminine fashion sense, and I do really love to incorporate that 1950s vintage style into my personal style. If any of you do also really like the 1950s fashion, this video might be really helpful for you. If it's something that you'd like to incorporate more into your everyday style, then definitely keep on watching. These tips might be really useful. I obviously don't dress in my full kind of 1950s gear every single day because one, it would just never suit my lifestyle, it'd be really impractical, and two, I do also like modern fashion. And I think for me it's more, I really enjoy actually taking those vintage aspects and putting them into my modern day wardrobe and combining the two, giving my modern day style that flair, just a bit of uniqueness, because I think you just don't really see it very often. I definitely don't see many people dressing in the vintage style a lot. I see it on Instagram obviously because that's the kind of content that I like to follow. But apart from that, I never see in everyday life people just dressing that way. And I think it's actually really sad. I also find it difficult to find other people, like-minded people like me, who really are into feminine fashion and dressing really girly on an everyday basis. I just don't really see it around where I live. I don't know if it is just the area that I live or if it is just a small selection of us that do enjoy dressing really feminine like that. So I've waffled on enough, I think, so let's just get into the video and I will share my tips and tricks with you in what I like to do to incorporate vintage style in my modern day wardrobe. I think the first main thing that I use quite a lot, well pretty much every day really, is hair. Styling your hair is probably one of the most important things that you could do, especially if you want to incorporate the 50s kind of look. It's such an easy way to just style your hair in these vintage hairstyles, so I use Pinterest quite a lot to give me ideas and inspiration for things like this. So I would definitely recommend heading over to Pinterest if you have an account and just type in 50s hairstyle or vintage hairstyle and just see what you could possibly recreate. Of course, some of them, they are quite difficult and it does take practice with a lot of the styles as well. But once you have got that practice, once you just trial out a few things, you'll be able to find a specific hairstyle that you know that you can do, so you can always go to it, and then you'll just become quicker and quicker at it, so it's something that you could probably incorporate into your everyday look. The next really easy thing to incorporate into your everyday looks will be makeup. Makeup can honestly change a look so easily, and you already will have everything that you need as well, so you don't even need to go out and buy anything. So the first two things ticked off you can do straight away, you don't even have to go and look for anything. So if you're starting from scratch with wanting to incorporate the vintage style into your everyday wardrobe, you've already sorted with your hair and makeup. It's an easy way to just capture that classic 1950s look. Again, I always go onto Pinterest and just do a quick search of classic 50s makeup, or if you're not into 50s you can obviously do any era, so 20s, 40s, anything, it's all on Pinterest. I find Pinterest is the best platform to find things like this, and even if you type in easy makeup looks, because I'm not really a makeup person, so for me the makeup that I do is so simple and so easy anyone could do it really. It's not hard at all. So I think the main things for if you're going for the 50s style, which I obviously do, is a bold lipstick. So red I think is the main one that people would automatically think, yep, a red bold lip is perfect. You can, because I'm not really a red person, I don't really wear a lot of red, so red lipstick doesn't tend to match many of the things in my wardrobe, so I will normally opt for a pink or like a corally colour. I think the best thing to do if you don't have a bold lip already, go out and find one that you know that you can actually wear. You don't want it to be not wearable, because otherwise you're never going to do it and you'll feel really uncomfortable doing it as well. The next thing for me would be winged eyeliner. I think adding that flick is the perfect way to add that vintage flair into your makeup look. Again, it's one of those automatic things when you think of 50s makeup, straight away you think red lip, winged liner. The next thing would be to add a little bit extra blush. Pink blusher is always my go-to, like a pink or a coral colour would be perfect. But yeah, a little bit extra blush than what you would normally put on is always a very good way to add to that 50s makeup look. The main thing I think is keeping it quite simple. All of these aspects are very simple, and again, like I said at the beginning, you're going to have all of these items already in your makeup collection, so you're not going to need to go out and buy them anyway. So let's move on to clothing and your wardrobe. This is obviously something that if you are starting out, you are going to need to build up your collection over time. It's taken me years to get to the point I'm at now with my clothes, my vintage clothes, and I've still not got a very big collection, so don't think, oh, I need to go out and just buy everything right now, because one, that's going to be super expensive, so you don't want to spend that much money in one go, and two, your style could possibly change in the next few years. You don't want to buy all of your stuff all in one hit, because what if next year you end up hating the colour that you bought and you ended up buying like 5 dresses in this similar colour? It's just not a good way to build your collection when you're building something like this, because the pieces generally are more expensive if you're going for the actual vintage things. Most of my vintage pieces are new vintage, so what I mean by that is there'll be brands, for example like Unique Vintage, you've got Collectif as well, which is the main one that I like to use, Hell Bunny as well, which I absolutely love, Band Retro, again another brand I love. Joni is a really good one if you don't want to go too all out. Joni does more kind of everyday pieces, but they'll have the vintage flair. There's honestly loads. There's loads and loads of brands. Just give a quick search on Google and you'll find loads of brands that do these things. So it is that the modern vintage. So you're getting new pieces, but they're in that vintage inspired look. Of course you can get true vintage pieces as well, they're just harder to find and you do have to do a lot more searching. When it comes to what to wear and how to incorporate the vintage look into your style, there's a couple of things that I like to stick to. So it is definitely the styling of clothing. One main thing, I wear mostly dresses or skirts. And when I choose my dresses and skirts, the main style I go for is like the swing skater skirts. That was really big in the 1950s, so that is the main thing that I go for. I absolutely love the big circle skirts. I find them really, really flattering. You're getting that nice hourglass figure, which was, again, the trendy figure to have back in that time. Mainly I go for a midi length dress when I want to really incorporate the vintage style in my looks. So I'll go for a midi swing skater skirt, but then obviously when it's really hot, like now when it's summer, you're not going to want to be wearing midi skirts all the time, so you can still incorporate that vintage style in your modern day wardrobe by just going for a mini skirt instead. Another kind of style that I think is a really good thing to look out for is things like neckline and sleeves. Neckline, I think, is a really, really important one in how you can capture that vintage flair into your modern day look. I tend to go for a sweetheart neck, a scoop, a classic scoop, Bardot style, so off the shoulder. A boat neck as well is really nice and it's a very flattering style. A collar as well is another big thing. All of those kind of necklines are perfect, and you don't have to buy vintage pieces or modern vintage pieces to get that. You're going to get that in any shop, any high street shop. Go in, look for those key things. So carrying on with styling and what kind of things to look for, like I mentioned, sleeves I think is a big thing. Cap sleeves is a main one, I would say, that is the perfect kind of sleeve to go for. Another one which is lovely is a puff sleeve. I think it would have been a more kind of extravagant clothing option back in that day and age, but now obviously puff sleeves, they're readily available. Puff sleeves are everywhere, they're very, very in, which is helpful when that's the kind of thing that you're looking for. The next thing I think is really, really important when you're trying to get that vintage style into your looks is colour and pattern. I personally always stick to a main colour palette in my wardrobe. It makes it so much easier to pair things, so you're going to know that everything in your wardrobe goes together if you stick to one main colour palette. Of course, sometimes you're going to like things that aren't in your colour palette. Doesn't mean you can't buy them, it just means it might be a bit more difficult to style them up if you've got everything else in this specific colour palette. This is a tip I did learn from Freddie my love on YouTube. She's one of my biggest style inspirations, and she is a very, very good person to follow if you do want to incorporate vintage style into your own fashion. She does it all the time. Not so much the 50s kind of look, she goes for more of like 60s, but definitely still 50s, but she'll do it with mini skirts a lot more. But yeah, she is definitely a good influencer to follow for that kind of thing. So my main colour palette is of course pink. I absolutely love pink, so that's the main actual colour that I go for. Whites, creams, beige, brown, sometimes black. So all of those neutral colours I think are perfect. They're obviously staples in every wardrobe, and they are the colours that take up most of my wardrobe, especially in autumn and winter. In summer, that's when I like to incorporate a little bit more colour. So of course I'll go for pink, like I say, a little bit of purple, green, like a sagey green, nothing too bright, and blue as well. They're the main colours that I'd go for. In terms of patterns that I normally tend to choose, I think polka dots are a really good one to go for. They instantly scream 1950s to me. So for this, I'm just wearing this really cute midi skirt in a polka dot print. This was just from Marks and Spencer's, so polka dots are really easy to get your hands on. And I've paired it with a puff sleeve top as well, just to add that little bit extra vintage flair. Another print that I absolutely love is gingham print. I'm just wearing my all-time favourite dress that I got for my birthday. This one is from Hell Bunny. I did wear it in Paris as well, so if you follow me over on Instagram, you probably would have seen this dress multiple times already. I think a gingham print is just so cute, very summery, and again, just very 50s. My next tip would be to accessorise. Accessories are probably one of the most important things that you could use to get the 1950s style into your look. I think one major thing would be a satin scarf. I got this gorgeous designer one from a vintage festival I went to recently, and I only paid £5 for it as well, so it's amazing what you really can find out there. I like to use these either as a shawl just over my shoulders, or I like to tie it around my neck just as a little neck piece. You can also use them to pop onto your bag and tie it around the handle of a handbag. All of those kind of things look lovely with a satin scarf and just really elevate any outfit. Jewellery is also super important. Pearls are the perfect piece for adding an instant vintage flair and getting that 50s look on point. Now back to the rest of the video as normal. Another key thing would be a top handle bag. So instead of going for a crossbody or more modern style bag, definitely go for something with that top handle, whether you can take the strap off or you can put it on to make it more usable in everyday life. If you're wanting to go for that vintage style, definitely go for the top handle. Another big thing would be footwear. Shoes are so important when it comes to adding vintage flair to your outfits. So the kind of shoes that you'd want to go for would be a ballet pump, or you could go for a kitten heel. It doesn't have to be a stiletto kitten heel, you could have a block kitten heel, slingback style. Brogues as well is another really good thing, maybe a bit more of a practical kind of shoe to wear. Another practical shoe to wear that you could wear in everyday life would be just a classic white pump. You're going to get that kind of Sandy from Grease vibe. That's the kind of shoe that she would definitely wear. So that is all of my tips and tricks to incorporate the 1950s vintage style into your modern day wardrobe. I hope you have enjoyed watching today's video, and I hope that you do take away some of these tips. If you do use any of these tips, I would absolutely love to know, so definitely leave a comment down below or send me a DM over on Instagram if this video has helped you today. If you have enjoyed today's video, it would mean a lot to me if you could give it a like and a share on social media. Also, click the subscribe button and turn on your notifications so that you know every time that I upload a new video. It would be great to see you back here watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!